Back on TYT Sports, back with Andre Snellings, and continuing our hashtag NBA rank, according to ESPN, the top 10 greatest power forwards of all time. At this point, you know it, it's right. The point guard, shooting guards, and small forwards clips are up. They're in the description below. They're in the cards. They're annotated. It's easy to find. Go check them out. But we continue with the power forwards. As always, we go through the same first card with 10 through number 4 with some more information on 3 through 1. So, power forward number 10, Dennis Rodman. Number 9, Pau Gasol. 8, Elvin Hayes. 7, Bob Pettit. 6, Kevin McHale. 5, Kevin Garnett. I know Andre Snellings has something to say about that. 4, Mr. Charles Barkley. I'm sorry, Sir Charles Barkley. And at number 3, arguably the greatest European of all time to play in the NBA, Dirk Nowitzki. All he's done is revolutionize the power forward position as Europe's greatest ever import and the sweetest shooting big man we've ever seen. The one-time NBA champion who captured the hearts of America when he made an unbelievable finals run and playoff run for that matter. An MVP, a finals MVP, a multi-time All-Star, of course, and career stats, just 22.1 points per game. And if you disagree with Dirk, he just did it again. Baseline, turnaround, fadeaway, one-legged jumper to sink the worst team in the league, the Los Angeles Lakers. Regardless, when he turned around, you knew that shot was going in. At number 2, if I can find it on my notes, would be Karl Malone. So, Karl Malone, no championships, which is a big thing, even though he played with John Stockton, who made the point guards list. But 2-time MVP, stole one of those MVPs for the record. 14-time All-Star, 14-time All-NBA selection, 4-time All-Defensive selection, and the second most prolific scorer in NBA history. The mailman could hurt you inside, from the elbow, and with his elbows. Pure size and strength at the power forward position. And at number 1, one that I do not disagree with, Mr. Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan is a 5-time NBA champion. Tim Duncan could become a 6-time NBA champion before his career is through. He's also a 2-time MVP, 3-time Finals MVP, 15-time All-NBA selection, and the only all-time great whose talent might be secondary to his temperament. His team-oriented attitude produced the longest run of sustained success the NBA has seen. As I mentioned with Tim Duncan in previous clips, no player has ever been more adaptable to the game than Tim Duncan. He gave you what your team needed. If you needed points, he's going to get you points. If you needed someone to set off-ball screens, he was going to set off-ball screens. He was always team first. He's one of the big fundamental for a reason. May never have been the most exciting guy, but the guy's a winner, and he steps up when you need him to at all costs. Andre, curious what you think of the list. I know Kevin Garnett is number 1 on yours, but give me a reason why.
You're right. So, do I start with the elephant in the room, KG? So I thought your description of Duncan was really interesting because, honestly, you could make the exact same description and put Garnett's name in place of Duncan's and maybe have it be more true. When we made our nerd list, of the top 100 ever, it finished with Duncan number 1 and Garnett number 2. But in the debates we would be discussing, and we came up with some different terms to describe different basketball aspects. And what you were just describing, we call portability. Portability is the ability to have a maximum impact on the widest number of different situations. And then there's another term called scalability, which means when you're having your best impact, can you scale the team up around you and have it, the team be maximized while you're maximized? And it's pretty agreed among the group of nerds I guess I hang out with that no player is more portable than Kevin Garnett. He can, he showed in 2003, he was a point power forward. He averaged 6 assists a game. He led his team in assists. He led his team in all 5 categories: points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, and by both totals and average. And no other player in NBA history, I don't believe, has ever done that, not in both. But in that season, he led the NBA in adjusted plus minus. So the team did best when he was on the court, better than anybody else did in the NBA as far as shift and scoring margins. The next year with Sam Cassell, he was more of a scorer. He wasn't the distributor anymore. Highest plus minus in the league. A few years later in Boston, he said, I'll make offense secondary and just do defense. Highest plus minus in the league. So I think he's the most portable player of all time, and that's a big reason why I do have him at the top of my power forward list. Though Duncan, obviously, you can't speak against him. I think he's great. Our order went Duncan, Garnett, Dirk Nowitzki, Karl Malone, then Charles Barkley, and then Bob Pettit. It's hard to rank the older players. Pettit might have been more dominant in era than some of the others, but his era maybe wasn't as strong. So we had Pettit at 6. Then we finished it off with McHale at 7, Dolph Schayes at 8, another old school cat, Pau Gasol at 9, and then Elvin Hayes at 10. We didn't. Rodman was number 12 on our list if you count McAdoo as a power forward.
Right. So I love your reasoning for Kevin Garnett at number 1. I think you make a good point with all of those, especially with the portability. I never really saw Kevin Garnett in that light, but as you enlighten the power forward list, I can't put him above, personally I couldn't put him above Duncan, but I was talking before the clip on how I thought maybe Dirk should be higher ranked than Malone and Barkley. I put a lot of emphasis on championships. I even won. Just one is a big deal. And the thing with Dirk is that he never had a John Stockton. John Stockton was a top 10 point guard of all time according to ESPN. And it's pretty amazing that they never won a championship. Jordan will do that to you. That's kind of comes with the territory. And if you're going to talk from the rebounding standpoint, yeah, Rodman and Barkley are right up there as some of the best rebounders the game has ever seen. The only person I wanted to touch on was Pau Gasol, who I would also say has that portability aspect, as you would say. He did everything he needed to win with Kobe. He's been pretty good with the Bulls, even though it's later in his career, but it just wasn't a high enough career arc. There wasn't enough years of, I thought, Pau being so dominant that he should be like in the top 5. But again, high IQ basketball player, does what he needs, one of the best players to come into the NBA from overseas, undoubtedly.
As I was saying, we had the 3 current power forwards higher than Malone and Barkley.
Right.
For Malone, it was more about postseason versus regular season. He saw a noticeable drop-off in his ability to score as an ISO scorer, and since that was his role, that was more of a problem for us. And for Barkley, it was just a defense thing. He was electric as a player, but he wasn't the defensive player that really any of the other all-time power forwards were, and that hurts him in this comparison.
Very interesting as always. Well, there you have it, the power forwards top 10 greatest of all time. Leave your top 10 power forwards of all time in the comments section below. If there's any snubs, let us know that as well. Make sure to follow Andre at Professor DRZ on Twitter. Check out the Hoops Lab column on rotowire.com as always. And if you're looking for some daily fantasy advice in the NBA world, other sports as well, follow at TYT Sports, like, favorite, subscribe to this video. We'll see you next time.